And I'm very happy that you will be joining us for the next session as well, which will bring together two women in design to share their perspectives and insight on leadership. Mariana Amatullo is the Honorary President from 2019 to 2022 of the Cumulus Association. She is an Associate Professor of Strategic Design and Management at Parsons School of Design. She serves as the Vice Provost for Global Executive Education and Online Strategic Initiatives at the New School in New York. Previously, Mariana co-founded and led the award-winning Social Innovation Department, Design Matters, at Art Design College of Design in Pasadena, California. Teresa Franqueira is Associate Professor at the University of Aveiro, is a designer and the Director and Scientific Coordinator of the Design Factory Aveiro at the Creative Science Park Aveiro region. She has a PhD in design at Politecnico Milano, an MSc degree in industrial design, a postgraduate degree at the Glasgow School of Art, and also Portuguese Design Centre. Teresa is the International Coordinator for DESIS Network, Design for Social Innovation and Sustainability, and was the founder and coordinator of the research group ID plus DESIS Lab. Welcome, Mariana and Teresa.
Hello, Mariana and Teresa. Good to see you again. We already tested our topic a little bit a week ago, but now I think that we will publish what we discussed earlier and add something on the top of that. Maybe we start with Teresa, because what you mentioned last time about the female number in students, among design students. So maybe you clarify a little bit that, because I think that it might interest our all ladies panel as well, the ladies who are listening to us. Please, Teresa.
Hello, and hello, Mariana. Hi, everyone. Yes, I teach design for the last 20 years, and I teach industrial design. And I think we all know that it has always been a male-dominated field, either in design offices or working in collaboration with the industry. And to see women leading companies or as chief design officers, I think is still a mirage. But for me, what is really curious is that the fact that our majority of our students are female. They are more successful when they apply to university, and they perform better. They have better grades during their education. But then it seems that we only see men in the labor market. And I have to confess that this bothers me a lot because these female students have as a role models in the design studio to teach them how to do design, male professors, as if male were the only ones that could teach them design practice. I am the exception because I'm the only professor of design studio at my university. And I hope that I really can be able to make the difference. I try to show them that it's possible to succeed. I tell them that I'm a very hands-on and a factory floor woman. I founded my own design company when I was still studying. I've worked as a designer in the glass and furniture industry, and it's a totally male-dominated area, and I succeed. So they are able to succeed also. But when we try even to invite our alumni that are working nationally and internationally, usually it comes up only with men names, and usually women are working on illustration or in some other small other fields, not industrial design, but it is completely dominated by men. So I have to tell that this needs to change, because for them it's really usual to see male professors in design studio as they are the only ones that are able to practice design when they end up their education. So this is something that I think we really need to focus on and to think about. We know that it is estimated 100 years to still have a gender balance in the work, the market. So this is something that I like to point out. Mariana probably has also something to say about this.
Thank you, Teresa. Yes, I think that it's so important that you have shown this kind of role model aspect here, because it's so hard to break these glass ceilings, especially in the tech field, for example, but other fields too. So how about you, Mariana? I think that you can highlight a little bit leadership in higher education. How do you see that?
Yeah, so first of all, I just wanted to thank Teresa and sort of support. I'm coming from, of course, where I'm based is the United States, and a very global city of New York, where we are seeing, we're moving the needle, as we say, in terms of the role of women in industrial design. But it's still not where it should be. A current study of the Industrial Design Society in the United States that was published this year was showing that although 50% of our, in most art and design colleges, 50% of the demographic are women, we only see about 19% of industrial designers, women, being quite successful and practicing in the United States. So there's a gap there. And so just to echo Teresa, that there's a lot of work to be done on this front. In terms of reflecting on leadership in higher education and design, and my area, of course, is design for social innovation, an area that, of course, Teresa works and researches as well as the lead of thesis. I do a lot of, for the last 25 years, I've been leading programs in higher ed and design that look at social innovation and publish books, like the latest book we have, Design for Social Innovation, with case studies around the world. A couple of reflections then connected to the topic of this 2-day symposium on leadership. The first one is that how do we define leadership, right? How do we think about leadership? And there, I love connecting leadership with design in addition to gender. I think it's an important maybe way to start this conversation. And I was looking back at my notes. I teach leadership seminar in design innovation at Parsons. And I love this quote from Herb Simon from Sciences of the Artificial, who says, that design is a tool for understanding as well as for acting. And in this sort of concept of action, there is a concept connected to that of leadership. And what we see in social innovation with questions of leadership and gender are questions connected to power, right? A lot of when we talk about leadership, we're also talking about power and influence, and who's at the boardroom table, who's part of the projects, who decides, and specifically in design practices that have a global South and global North dynamic, who are the participants of these projects and these design solutions. And just very recently, and I'll end there, when we were putting together this book, we have a chapter that I moderated called Geographies of Power. And some of the participants in that chapter, one of them is a Sierra Leone international development and design thinker, Fatou Wari, who's very inspiring and currently doing her PhD at Harvard in the policy school. And she was reflecting on digital design projects that UNICEF and other organizations do, where there's a lot of, design that goes in, and there's a lot of good intentions. There's these aspirations, for example, of solving a digital divide for women and young girls in other parts of the world. But the constructs and the way these projects are designed, unfortunately, not include enough women designers, do not include enough the participants. And as a result, they tend to be, very top down and often fail. So I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you, Mariana. Now, Teresa, I have a question for you, because it was good, Mariana, that you pick up this idea of power. And I remember while I was working at Kone, and there were, 9 engineers and me, female, alone, non-engineer, by the way. And then I used to tell to my team that good is not enough, it should be grand. So that you do something in such a way that people are not thinking, oh, should we jump to that direction? But everybody is, wow, that was my tactics to overcome this male power that was always in front of me. So now, Teresa, how do you deal with this male-dominated power issue? Please tell me. And maybe, Mariana, you can reveal your tactics too.
It's not easy, but in fact, what I think I have tried to create in myself during the years that I'm working, it's that imagine that I'm just exactly the same as they are. So I imagine that they are not male or female, they are professionals. Maybe they are as competent or incompetent as other women or other men. So what I really focus is on their competence, on their skills, and on my skills, on my own skills. So it's what I bring to the table. It's not the fact that I'm a woman, that I can be, I can have some power or less power than men in meetings. For instance, this, what I was saying, that I'm the only female teacher in design studio. In these meetings, there's a lot of testosterone. So I'm completely by myself. But at the end, I just look at these skills and competences that we have, and I don't try to fix on this idea that I have in front of me like 10 male and I'm the only woman in the room. So sometimes it's hard, because we know that when we are, for instance, sending a budget for a design project, people tend to not accept so very well women when it's women sending the budget. And if you are a man, if you send a higher budget, they tend to approve in a much easier way. So sometimes you have to also try to dance with this reality, but at the same time we have to be completely against this. And sometimes it's hard, it takes a lot of energy. But I think I like to do this role. I think we need to start in ourselves to change the system. And when we are in a system that it's completely male dominated, we just need to look at the qualities of people and their competences. It's a way, at least during my years in leadership or not leadership, it has been always my position.
Thank you, Teresa. How about you, Mariana? What is your approach to this male meta-narrative, please?
Yes, I'm a little bit on the same page of Teresa. I am not very focused on my gender at all when I'm in situations of having to, lead. And again, I think where there might be a difference, and I resonate with what you said, Anne, about talking to your team about producing grand. I think we tend to overcompensate sometimes as women leader and work twice as hard to sort of validate positions. But I try to really work from a position of the record and the good work that's happening. I also I am often like Teresa in situations where I might be the only woman keynote speaker in a large global conference, or I might be the youngest woman evaluator in a government panel that is giving away a lot of funding, with very competent and wonderful colleagues who are male, over white, and over the age of 50. And I'm very conscious of that sort of accountability and responsibility I suddenly have as a woman leader to perform as well and stand by the work, and less about the gender dynamics. But there's definitely, what I see is a sea change, I think, in some of these, situations of leadership, where actually it is really frowned upon in many of the circles I navigate, to not have women on the table. A lot of the research shows, right, that even when we look at international 500, Fortune 500 companies, it's those that have better diversity and female representation that are contributing better to the bottom line. We have all the research, it's been around for now more than a decade. So I am hopeful that there is a change. But tactics, I tend to follow Teresa. I just work based on the record and on the effort.
Thank you, Mariana. Now I have the classic question for you. We all love this. What is your advice to the young female leaders, to heroes of today, based on your experience? I think that this might help some people in our audience, the heroes, the female heroes. Please, Teresa, would you start? An advice to younger self or younger.
Don't give up, don't give up, don't be afraid. I think we really need not to be afraid, and to have courage, to not feel that as women we are in a minority role, or that we don't have a voice in the meetings because we don't speak as louder or as stronger as a man. But I think the courage to say what they think, the courage to go. If I remember the first time I entered a factory to prototype a product, it was only men working in the factory, and I was okay, and they are all working, looking at me. I was like 26 or 27 years old, and I didn't feel very comfortable. But then I say, well, I'm a designer, I'm in a factory, I just want my product to be produced, so let's go. And if you just go with the flow, and don't think that you are less because you are a woman in this. So courage, and not be afraid to go in this, to dive in this male world.
Good, that's a great one. Go with the flow. I love it. Mariana, what is your advice?
I think it's really about creative confidence, right? And also harnessing the unique powers and that we have as women leaders. Again, the research shows that leadership is about, of course, how we think, but also how we communicate, how we feel. And the research shows that women have typically a higher degree of what we call emotional and social intelligence in leadership. And, we certainly teach a lot of this kind of theoretical frameworks to our students, male and female. And we, my takeaway is actually it's the female students, again, as Teresa was saying, that typically have more ease with this kind of approach, and then that makes them very resonant and empathic leaders. So my encouragement to women designers is to really stand on their own with creative confidence, that they have these qualities that can, in the world we're in, which is complex and is really changing, right? We have a sea change of leadership positions where we need, it is very recognized that this diversity is critical. So I think this next generation of women are hopefully going to have an easier time. Although we still have, very discouraging news, right? We open up the newspaper and the G7 photograph is all men with Ursula cut off from the picture. And certainly in the country I'm in, the United States, we just saw a constitutional right taken away from women in this country. So, it's not going to be an easy road ahead, but I think we are making change, and I'm optimistic about that.
Yeah,
Well,
and I would like to add that, of course, there are frustrations along the way. And sometimes we have to deal with those frustrations because we can't change it. I'm quite sure that if I was a man, right now I will be in a completely different position. So I know that, I'm aware of that. And of course, for quite a long time, it was a frustration for me, but we have to deal also with those frustrations. And Mariana, I noticed precisely the same. Ursula was completely alone in that picture with all the men in the G7. I also noticed that yesterday in the newspaper. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to add the third one. Now we have go with the flow, we had the creative confidence, and I would like to add here lifetime learning. Because I think that if you are learning, unlearning, relearning, unlearning, relearning, micro-learning, wide learning, deep learning, whatever, I mean that it's a lifetime journey, leadership, in that respect, that you are learning every single day. And maybe I actually got this, I just yesterday thought that maybe I got this idea from my father, who is an emeritus professor in architecture. Because when I was young, he told me in his studio that, listen, Anne, every day I learn a new thing, it's a good day. And I didn't took that seriously, the phrase at that time. But now, when I'm old and gold, I fully agree that every single day I learn a new thing. It's a good day. And that is something that if you keep going on, you are renewing yourself and you are always ahead of, I don't say male colleagues, but at least you are always ahead of times. Now, I think the final question from my side is that what is your role model? Please name yours, because that's always interesting to hear.
You can start, Mariana. This one, you can start.
Mariana, do you have
I have a lot of role models and prior teachers, but I would say my mom. She's been an amazing lady, the wife of a diplomat who had to sort of give up on a career of her own to be next to my father, who became a very prominent ambassador for Argentina, where I'm from. And then later in life, in her 50s, went back to her passion, which was writing, and became a very sort of well-respected fiction writer in Argentina. So she's a role model for me.
I don't have one. I don't have one role model, but I think all the women that are in politics for me are role models. It could be, you can pick Indira Gandhi, or you can pick Margaret Thatcher, or anyone from right to left wing. I think all the women that have the courage to go to politics, for me, they are role models, all of them. Because I think it really has to deal with courage.
Well, I can add mine onto that list. It's very much along yours too, because I think one of them is actually Amelia Earhart, the first female avian pilot, or how you call it, flying an airplane by herself. And she got married sometime, and then while she was leaving for her final flight, actually, she didn't return from that, but but she left a letter to her husband and saying that, don't be sorry if I'm not coming back from that flight, because somebody else, another women, will take from that and continue the journey. And I think this is exactly how we women feel all the time, that I can't finish this one, but the next women, they will take it from there and carry on. And I think that this is a, you know, a kind of process that will unfortunately go on for generations. That's my understanding.
Yeah, and I have to tell you that we are talking on this. You are in Finland, I am in Portugal, so even if we are in Europe, we are in a completely different cultural.
Exactly.
And Mariana is in the United States, but I think we are lucky and we are privileged to be in these kind of societies, because there are so many other societies where women, they don't really have any kind of freedom or even opportunity. So even if we have our own struggles, I think we are still very privileged and very lucky to have to be born in these places.
That is so true. And that's why I think that we all do quite a lot of mentoring all the time, I guess. You know, young colleagues, they approach us, the female one, and ask some comments or advice. And I think that's also part of our leadership role, that eventually we become so-called hub trees that are nurturing and supporting the tiny trees under. Thank you so much, Mariana, Teresa.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to discuss with you. Hope to see you sometime soon.
Yes, thank you very much. A pleasure to be with both of you ladies.
Thank you, and
Bye-bye.
Teresa, Mariana, for that
girls.
very engaging conversation.